Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen? Please reply. Shine Alam and Shine Mahmoud Bhai.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we start from the easiest one. That's why.
Late lies the
The
winter.
title of the title of the listening is why morning light is so important. Though today is not lighting outside, today is foggy weather. So morning lighting is why important. Okay, that's a health benefit. So it's an amazing thing. I think um, you will be benefited to listen. Just listening. Okay.
Son a bed. A frosty, fiery, sleepy head blinks but an hour or two, and then a blood red orange sets again.
See the subtitle also. Okay. See the subtitle. Okay.
Sunlight is powerful stuff, perhaps more powerful than most.
You are listening. Sound is clear. Please raise your voice.
Yes. Yes.
Sound clear, right?
Sound is clear.
Okay.
Right.
people realize.
Every aspect of how we function is controlled.
Not aspect. Okay, aspect. Every aspect in modern English, and we say we told aspect, not aspect.
By light. In winter, we're seeing a lot less sunlight.
The perils of living without sunlight are really quite real. In some ways, modern life has driven us back to the Stone Age, okay, when we lived in caves. In the 60s, there were several experiments by French people who went into caves and stayed there. They all began to sleep either for extraordinarily long periods of time or extraordinarily short periods of time, and they couldn't tell the difference. They all said they had severe mood disturbances and depression, so much so that some of them had
Mind
to
the pronunciation. Also, not also. Okay. Also.
leave long before they'd really had planned to. In winter, we often feel somewhat out of sorts at this time of year. A lack of sunlight means that your immune system doesn't work as well, your defense mechanisms don't work as well.
An effect on mood, increased depression, more metabolic disorders, and all of these things are offshoots of a disrupted circadian clock. At times, all of our physiology and all of our behavior, all of the active sorts of processes are compartmentalized to the day, and all of the restorative processes are kept to the night. The wavelengths that have the most powerful impact are the bluish colored ones. Within our eyes, there are these cells that have a pigment that's sensitive to this blue light, that then signals to the body clock to tell it what time of day it is.
Before the stars have left the skies, at morning, in the dark I rise, and shivering in my nakedness, by the cold candle bathe and dress.
Many people don't realize what an artificial life we live, and that's because artificial life depends on artificial light.
So by seeking out artificial light, what that is doing is giving your body a time cue that is incorrect. Then you might end up feeling far more alert at night or a lot more depressed during the day. Your systems within your body tend to desynchronize, and so you tend to have a higher incidence of diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease.
The World Health Organization sees shift work as a threat to health, and it is. Many British people spend less than half an hour a day in the open air. So it's no good staying.
So listen, why morning walking or morning sunlight is so important. It's maybe cardiovascular disease. You know, cardiovascular disease is a heart disease. Okay, maybe in diabetes and so many things. Because In vitamin or vitamin D is there. In sunlight, there is a direct vitamin D, okay? But somebody didn't know that. Unfortunately, they don't know about the benefit of sunlight. Even sunlight is the main source of vitamin or vitamin D, okay? But in young generation, you see nowadays they are not just sleeping all time. In Dhaka city, there is a horrible situation. Okay, there is a fearful situation. I got some students are there. They are not sleeping until 12 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Even they not go out on sunlight. And researcher shows that in sunlight is so important, not only in morning sunlight, previously till morning sunlight, but also nowadays in even in after 2 p.m. 3 p.m. it's so effective. Okay, you see in coronavirus pandemic, that time those who are working on the field, they are not affected, but those who are on the live in the AC room, they are affected and they die. But it's should be changed. Okay, it should be all time AC. Using AC is not good for health. So give your feedback, Shine Bhai and Shine Alam Bhai. Okay, get your. Do you have an idea about this sunlight?
Sunlight are very
Essential, right?
essential for our health. It is very very needs for our everyday life. But nowadays
But
we
yes,
are
I want to share one thing. Unfortunately, we cannot do this because we are nowadays modern people are so busy with their work. Okay, so they know
exactly.
their social bonding is known. They are not go to the relative house. Even they don't go to the sunlight also. Okay, just sleeping and go to the office. That's all.
Right.
Yes. And I want to mention those who are working on night shift and not sleep in night time. Night sleep is so important for health. And researchers and doctors tells in UK research and Japanese doctors research that if you don't sleep night single day or other, but you sleep in daytime, that is not equal. Okay, maybe twice in a week, day in daytime sleep, but nighttime creator or God only used for sleeping and relaxation. Okay, not other purpose. But we are doing the wrong thing. We are using nighttime all time. We are wake up and do my
Work of-
card game or any other game or so many things we are doing. We are making gossip, talk to others, not sleep, and seeing cartoon or movie, lots of bad things. But it overnight it cannot be possible to change the behavior or the change the pattern. But my request, everyone should do the same platform or same procedure. Just my solution, I give one solution that every day, every night after 10, okay, after your prayer, you just switch off your light and mobile, Android, all things are silent, so that after 10 days it's regular practice, and after that sleep automatically come. Otherwise, if you on the sleep 12 o'clock, on the sleep 8 o'clock, on the sleep maybe morning 7 o'clock, that time it will be hampered, not properly sleep. Okay, so
and it's harmful for our health.
it should be routine. It should be routine wise, fixed on time. Just either you sleep 11 or 10. 10 is better. 10 is better. When you go to the sleep at 10, you can early rise in the morning. You can that time also you read in the morning. Morning time is brain is so cool, so that's why your memory is sharp. Whatever you learn, whatever you read, you capture your memory. So our young generation are always doing. My personal suggestion is that no need a smartphone to after before 18 years old. But nowadays people are using before 18 years, maybe maybe very at the earliest stage, right? When they are eating, they are seeing the cartoon or anything, and mother and there is a parenting problem. I think parents are misguided them because they are crying. So when mobile was not there in previous many days ago, ancient period, what they will do, they'll cry. After sometimes they will cry, will stop it. So why all time seeing mobile? And all time you see mobile, you lose your eyesight and so many things. So we move forward, and we have to listen carefully.
Being inside and looking at the sun and saying this is doing me good, because it isn't.
So it's probably on a day like today about 4 or 5 times less light simply being on this side of the glass. A good dose of bright sunshine at any time during the day has a huge impact on elevating mood and general feelings of well-being. There was a study at the Broadmoor Institute where they looked at the effects of the equivalent of 20 minutes of bright sunshine in the morning on mood. What they found was the bright light had a much greater effect on elevating mood than even some antidepressants.
When to go out, my nurse doth wrap me in my comforter and cap. The cold wind burns my face and blows its frosty pepper.
So our skin's not just a barrier, it's a living organ. When our skin sees sunlight, that is when it starts making vitamin D, which is an essential component of many different signaling pathways in our body.
You can get vitamin D in several ways. You can do what I do and take a vitamin D pill, a diet of wild salmon and mushrooms, and you won't get rickets. But overwhelmingly the best way is through the sun. It's coming back for generally depressing reasons. The amount of sunlight we're getting has gone down dramatically in the last 20 years. It's gone down particularly fast in the last 2 or 3 years.
We're not getting outside, and this is going to have an impact on how well the body clock is aligned. It makes us even more like hermits in a cave relying on artificial light. Have meals at the right time, go to bed at the right time, and get out even if it's freezing for that daily 20-minute walk and some light exposure. Simply being outside and exposing yourself to light so that you strengthen your circadian clock is going to have a hugely beneficial impact on health and well-being.
Don't retreat into your cave. In other words, when the sun comes out, go out and have a good time. That's the medical advice.
Black are my steps on silver sod. Thick blows my frosty breath abroad. And tree, and house, and hill, and lake are frosted like a wedding cake.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, be sure to check out these videos next. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to get a notification each time we upload a new video.
Okay, first video is done. Okay, we move. What your experience? You learned something, you understand something, right? Shine.
Right.
Understand something, right? Now
Right.
this is so easy and lucid language, so easy language. Okay. Okay, no problem. Now we play the second video. I target 4 video listening practice for today. Okay, so let's get started. So now, 5 books, about 5 books.
Books inspire us. They teach us. They let us escape into new worlds.
You are listening properly? Just raise your voice. Listening?
Yes.
Yes, listening. Okay.
But some books do much more than this. These books hit a collective nerve and have had a profound and lasting effect on society. What are the titles that had this impact? There are many, many books that fit this definition, but we've managed to narrow it down to 5 books that have truly shaped our world.
They're talking about the 5 books which is essential for your life. Okay. Yes, listen.
Melancholy can be overcome only by melancholy, wrote Robert Burton in his enormous 900-page book, The Anatomy of Melancholy, which was first published way back in 1621.
So in the 17th century, there weren't books about melancholy, or as we would call it today, depression. It looks as if Robert Burton himself suffered from depression. And there's a real sense as he writes it that he's writing himself into a position of expertise about depression so he can help himself as well as other people. And it's remained such a kind of influential book over the centuries since then, not simply because of its subject matter. It's the way it's written. It explores inner life in a way that hadn't really been explored before. So it's the patient's voice. And one of the things that we've learned over the last 20 years is the importance of the patient's voice in targeting research and clinical treatment.
To 1960s America now, where many people still thought that a woman's place was in the home.
Betty Friedan wrote The Feminine Mystique in 1963, and in the introduction describes it as the problem that has no name. It was a book writing about the experience and aspirations of women in suburban America. It stood out as a book.
Okay, listen. We common mistake. Woman. We say woman. Women. Women. We men. Okay, women.
Book at this time because the experience of women wasn't being written about in this way for the general population. It stood out because she was standing up and saying, we need to acknowledge that there is more to life for these women than being the perfect wife, the perfect mother. She developed the idea that women needed to become politicized. They needed to think about their experience at home. However, and there is a big however, the biggest criticism came from her exclusion of women of colour. Poor women's experience was excluded. She also excluded lesbians. Despite these shortcomings, this book had real impact at the time. It brought feminism to a very wide audience, and that's a huge positive.
Bill McKibben's 1989 book, The End of Nature, is considered to be the first book to bring global warming to a general audience.
The End of Nature is about how humans are changing the planet. It's a sad lament on human destruction. In the 1980s, people had been talking about global warming, but it hadn't entered the public consciousness as something that we should be really concerned about and we should be already acting on. What he did with this book is really wake people up to this dramatic change that we are having globally on the natural world, and which now is taken for granted by everybody. We all are very aware of the...
Not natural, okay, natural world, okay.
The impact we're having.
Okay.
And it's largely due to books like this.
Things Fall Apart by Nigerian author Chinua Achebe was one of the first African novels in English.
It's an African novel. In literature, we also done this. Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. It is Nigerian and it's about Igbo society. Okay, you can understand.
Gained global recognition and acclaim, and it is still read and studied all over the world to this day.
Africa was always seen through the eyes of the white colonials. It was like a door opening into a world that white Europeans never understood. And even as it was published, people were astonished by the beauty of the book. Here comes a man who's talking about Igbo villages in Nigeria and their lives and their inner thoughts and their hopes and desires. And we'd never seen that. And for Africans, and that's the more important point, there were emerging writers. They knew their time was now. They knew that the world was ready, and it was that book that convinced them that it was.
And finally to post-war Britain, a time when many items were still rationed, and to Elizabeth Davids, a book of Mediterranean food.
Britain already had a reputation for poor food, plain food, grey food. She wrote it as a memoir almost of her time spent in southern Europe before and during World War II. She wrote it really as a yearning for these wonderful places and the colours and the scents and the flavours. These days, we completely take for granted ingredients like chickpeas, lemon, garlic, olive oil, tomatoes, basil. Then, when this book was published, none of those ingredients were really available. I mean, if you wanted to buy olive oil, you had to go to a chemist shop because it was sold for treating earache. She triggered a movement, which we still feel today, which is one where food becomes something important, not just to our daily routine of nourishing ourselves, but saying a little bit more about who we are. So there's now multiple generations of food writers and cookery presenters whose existence now would not have been possible without that book.
Words on a page can do so much more than entertain. Some books have imagined, explored, and introduced ideas which have had a lasting impact on our society, which we experience to this day, even if we haven't read them.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, be sure to check.
So our second video already done. Okay. So we move forward to the next video. For video we will cover it anyway. Okay. Within shorter time. Okay. Now we move on the third video. 2 is done. Okay, that's great.
Six-Minute English
from bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello, this is 6-Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth.
Now, you might know them as aliens, UFOs, little green men, or...
First time you are not understanding because they are so quickly tell. Okay, so don't about hesitate or panic. Day by day you listen, you will become faster. Okay, you will also talking like that. So no worry about that, just keep concentrate. Every week we twice a day, twice in a week or thrice in a week, we practice listening and speaking. Okay, no problem.
Even UAPs. UAP stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena.
Identify, phenomena. This word also you know, okay? Just listen.
And it's the word scientists now use to describe mysterious things not from this world. So, Beth, how would you feel if you looked up and saw strange objects glowing and twisting through the sky?
Wow, well, I might stare for a bit. I don't know if I'd believe what I was seeing, and I guess I'd be a bit scared.
Well, that situation is exactly what Navy pilots caught on their fighter jet cameras on a training flight in 2004. They recorded mysterious oval objects flying at 24,000 meters. The footage is known as the Tic Tac videos, and they have had millions of views on YouTube. Now these videos are being reviewed by US Congress to try to understand what these objects were.
Were they flying saucers, the disc-shaped craft flown by aliens, or is there a more rational explanation? In this programme, we'll be discussing whether we are alone in the universe.
Rational. Rational is which is logical, okay? And irrational is which is not logical. You can say it's a logical topic. You say logic. It's logic, you know, logic, not saying Bangla, okay? Try to speak English. Logic, logical. It's logical, it's meaningful. Or illogical, it's not meaningful, okay?
And as usual, we'll be learning some useful new vocabulary as well.
But first I have a question for you, Beth. Thousands of UFO sightings are recorded every year, but which country has had the highest number of reported sightings since records began, according to the National UFO Reporting Center? Is it A, the USA, B, Canada, or C, China?
I think it must be the USA.
Okay, Beth, I'll reveal the answer later in the program. Now, while astronomers are scientists who study questions concerning things outside of Earth, they often avoid investigating supposed aliens. Adam Frank, professor of astrophysics at the University of Rochester, explains why the footage in the Tic Tac videos can't give any definitive answers of alien life to BBC World Service programme The Inquiry.
Because I don't think the pilots are lying. I think the pilots are being honest and have a lot of integrity about what they say they're seeing. They're not saying they're aliens. They're saying they behaved in ways that no jet could behave. But, again, personal testimony, you can't do any science with that. So what may happen now is we're going to begin to get some scientific study of this, and we'll try and get a better handle on it.
Adam says the pilots have integrity, a noun meaning to have honesty and moral principles. However, what they saw is based on personal testimony. A personal testimony is a story.
Listen, however, not however, okay?
Or statement of evidence
Okay.
supported only by a person and what they saw, rather than any external evidence or hard facts.
To find out more about exactly what the pilots saw, scientific studies are being carried out to try and get a better handle on the situation. If you get a handle on something, you understand it and are then able to deal with it.
Taking a more scientific approach to what the pilots saw, the Tic Tac videos were examined by a panel put together by NASA. Here's Adam again discussing the findings on BBC World Service programme The Inquiry.
At the NASA panel, one of the scientists showed a simple analysis of the video that shows the object traveling seemingly at high speed over the ocean. And what the NASA scientist showed was that with a simple analysis, you could show that that was moving at 40 miles an hour. So certainly nothing very extraterrestrial about that.
The scientists found that although it looks like the object was travelling very fast, it was only moving at 40 miles an hour, which Adam says is not very extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial means from outside Earth and is another word often used to describe aliens. So it seems that for now, scientists will need to find much more proof to know exactly whether we're alone in the universe or not.
Okay, Beth. I think it's time I revealed the answer to my question. I asked you which country has had the highest number of reported sightings since records began, according to the National UFO Reporting Center.
And I guessed the USA.
Which was the correct answer. There have been over 100,000 reported sightings and encounters with UFOs in the USA since 1947. Okay, let's recap the vocabulary we've learned from this program, starting with UAP, an acronym that stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, and is another...
Okay, recap you maybe you don't understand. Recap means reminder, okay? Repeat again. Recap the vocabulary, vocabs, or what does it mean? We can repeat it again so that you can memorizing or you can understand. Okay, understand?
Okay, understand.
Okay.
The word meaning alien or UFO.
A flying saucer is a disc-shaped craft supposedly flown by aliens.
Integrity means being honest in what you say and having moral principles.
A personal testimony is a story or statement of evidence supported by a person and what they saw, rather than external evidence or hard facts.
If you get a handle on something, you understand it and are able to deal with it.
And finally, extraterrestrial means from outside Earth and is another word often used to describe aliens. Once again, our 6 minutes are up. Join us again soon for more useful vocabulary here at 6 Minute English. Goodbye for now.
Bye. If you like 6 minutes...
Okay. So we already done third on. Okay. So what about Shine Mahmood Bhai? Are you rising or sleeping now? Shine Alam Bhai is king. He is sometimes talking, but Shine Mahmood Bhai is not talking. What happened to you? You are sleeping maybe? Okay, no problem. Okay.
No, I'm.
Oh, you are listening.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That is great. So you're a silent listener. Okay, now move on the last one. Last but not least, it is upper intermediate level. Okay, intermediate or B2 or C2 level. Upper intermediate level, it's a nice one. Okay, with the subtitle also. Okay, move next one. This upper intermediate level.
Kate looked around the room at the other participants, 10 men and...
You're listening? You're listening? Hello?
Yes.
Listening. And see the title also. There is a transcription, okay? There is a writing also, so that though it is upper intermediate, it is tougher one, but writing is there. So no problem whatsoever, okay? You have no problem.
and 10 women, all around the same age. Thank you for coming today and offering your time to help advance medicine. LymeRen, the medicine we're testing, is in what we call the Phase 4 stage, which means previous human trials have shown us the drug is completely safe. Kate stopped paying attention. She'd read the information the medical research company had sent her, so she knew the vitamin tablets, LymeRen, had already been approved for sale, and that they were just fine-tuning now, not testing side effects. She didn't know any of the other people in the group. Presumably, none of them had jobs either, or they wouldn't have signed up to a medical study to earn money. But otherwise, it was impossible to know if she had anything in common with any of them. She hoped so, or it was going to feel like a very long 4 days stuck in the hospital-like research centre. Known side effects are that some people experience heightened emotions and psychological states as well as a feeling of general well-being. The lead researcher finished off his presentation. We'll be interviewing each of you and taking standard physical tests through the day and night. So, if you can all sign the consent forms, we can get started. Kate signed and dated her form without reading the information. Hopefully, this was going to be the easiest money she ever made. I hope the food's better than last time, said the guy sitting next to her as he handed in his form. Kate smiled. I'm Michael. Kate, she said. You've been here before, as often as they'll let me. He laughed. Easiest money I ever made. She smiled back, someone she had something in common with after all. A few hours later, eating dinner and having taken her second dose of LymeRen that day, Kate couldn't deny she felt extra relaxed. Maybe it was the drug, or maybe it was just being in a place where nothing was expected of her. There were books to read, films to watch, and even board games and puzzles. It was nothing like her normal days, sending job application after job application and going to stressful interviews that never led to a job. She looked up and saw Michael smiling at her. Fancy playing a board game? He asked. His eyes were such a deep shade of brown, Kate thought. She couldn't think why she hadn't noticed earlier. To her annoyance, she felt her cheeks going red. Sure, she replied. I'm very competitive though, she warned. Perfect, he said. Me too. Was it her imagination, or did his cheeks look a bit pink too? For the next 2 days, Kate and Michael hung out all the time, playing games, chatting and watching films. I feel as if I've known you for months, not days, she said. She already knew he lived not far away, that he was a student studying for his PhD, and that he had dimples in his cheeks when he smiled, and a cute way of putting a pen behind his ear when he was reading. She couldn't be completely certain, but she thought he seemed to be making sure he sat next to her for meals and hung out with her whenever he could. Or maybe she was the one who was always looking for him. So, do you think you're feeling any side effects? He asked her one evening. They were sitting on the sofa watching a film. Michael's knee was almost touching her leg, and if his hand moved even a tiny bit, it would be touching hers. Her heart beat faster, and all she could think about was closing the gap and feeling his skin touch hers. She was blushing again. She knew it. Any what? She asked, forcing her mind back to the conversation. These side effects of limerin that they told us about at the presentation, he said, moving his hand away. Her skin immediately felt cold, as if the presence of his hand had been warming the air between them.
Okay, this is a long video, so we can stop my class today.
And then
okay.
he did it.
Thank you
He
so
moved
much.
his hand